What I could say here. It's starting to rain. Hey y'all. Welcome to the Inside Perspective. Right now we parking lot pimping. I'm lying to you. I'm just sitting next to a bush. Nonetheless, welcome. Hello. Hi, how are you? How's your spirit? Let's check in to see what's going on. Have you taken care of yourself today? Do you know what taking care of yourself looks like? What refuels you? What refuels you? What makes you feel good inside? Have you taken some time to do that for yourself today? If not, I highly encourage you to do so. Honestly, it only takes, let me not say only, but one of the meditative practices that I've been jumping into it's called a 10-second meditation. But it really takes about like 30 seconds to really get into the state that allows the breathing and the meditation. But what I'm saying is if you can create 1 minute of your day, if you can create 1 minute in your day dedicated to breathing, your body will thank you and you will thank you, and you'll be able to move and be maybe a little lighter. It may not happen the first time, it may take a couple times. Just be patient with yourself, you know? Anywho, today's topic is about vulnerability. And whenever I say those words, half the time, just realized I was never recording on here. But half the time, I hope the sound got better, but half the time I don't even I get this feeling in my body like, oh, vulnerability. But I know that within myself, I have reconnected with the word vulnerability, and I've been with the word vulnerability, and I've been telling and encouraging myself that vulnerability is my superpower. Like me being vulnerable, that's going to get me a lot. But being vulnerable takes a lot of courage. And when you realize that, it makes navigating vulnerability a lot easier. I always like to start with like the definition or like the social definition of the word, and then I'll go into how I feel about it. But I feel the way the word vulnerability or being vulnerable is viewed on like a social aspect sometimes is that it makes you weak. Or like if you're vulnerable, you're exposed. Okay, so like that's a part of the definition is like vulnerability is like you're exposed, open to attack, like or easily to attack, or something like that, something along the lines of those words. And while it's true, I feel like there's a chance that we're not interpreting that in the best way. I feel that whenever I use vulnerability, it's in a way that I open myself up by creating the space for a healthy conversation, action, that's vulnerability in my eyes. Like, okay, I know that if I decide to open up and go within myself, and it's not always that easy because there's other parts of me, and I'm using this this analogy in terms of like if you're having like a tough conversation, or I'm having a tough day and I have to sit there and be honest with myself and admit to defeat, like this shit's whooping my ass. It's whooping my ass and I'm losing this battle. It gives me the power to be vulnerable with myself by saying like, I need to tap out. I need to take a break. Like, And I know not everybody has that opportunity to take a break, but maybe keeping the mental note of like, this hit me, this hit me, this hit me. And then if it's counting up and building, like by the end of the day, show yourself the grace that you deserved, because there were so many times where you wanted to tap out, but you couldn't, because you had to keep going. You had to keep pushing. Somebody's depending on you. Somebody's looking up to you. You're the only one that can do it. You know, like, you're going to have to give yourself the grace later on. Like, don't question why you're so tired. You know what you did today? Like, pay attention to not disrespecting the hard work you and your body put in all day. You have to be honest with yourself, honest and vulnerable with yourself. So let's see, it's honest within vulnerability, or the vulnerability within honesty? The honesty and vulnerability. I think it's that. That's which one meshed the best in my axons. But, and I forget what I was saying. You have to give yourself the grace at the end of the night. Give yourself the patience, the whatever it is, noticing and self-watching. I gotta jump back to that because I didn't finish my first point, because self-watching is like a whole another thing. But giving yourself some moment of the day when you at least recognize how hard you've been working. That's an action of vulnerability, instead of like, nothing phases me, I can get through and do anything, nothing can stop me, I'm unstoppable. And I love the confidence, babes. Like, that's, but let's also be realistic. Should be hurting. Should be annoying. Should be having you ready to box somebody. And there's times where you don't feed into that narrative and pursue that. That's good. That's really good. So give yourself, where you didn't act out. You didn't yell and scream at somebody. You didn't, like, it's seeing that I could have taken this route and I didn't. And I'm able to see this through the lens of vulnerability because I decided to tap out. You deserve a gold star for that. I give myself gold stars all the time. Because, bitch, I'm doing a good job. It's hard out here. It's really, really hard. And I feel like the more that I tried to tell myself it wasn't hard, I wasn't being realistic with myself. And so I was like, let me try this vulnerability thing, but not really place it in like a relationship or connection. Like, well, it is, but it's the relationship and connection with myself. I had to really apply the belief system of what vulnerability is, but I created it myself and applied it to me. Sorry, I seen a car rolling up. You always gotta keep your head on a swivel. But and so by doing that, it has afforded me a lot of the opportunities of self-watching, because now I paid attention to, okay, this shit's hard, but like, what was my brain thought process before I got here? Like, what was all I feeling and what was I telling myself? Like, yes, it's a difficult task, but I am capable of completing it. So what's the thought process that is bringing me so much anxiety in doing the task? And that's when I really relied on self-watching. So I was like, I have to really pay attention to myself. Like, I have to see, what am I telling myself the night before I have something to do? Like, these things start so early for me. Or it could be like, oh, in a week I have this appointment, or in a week I have this presentation. What am I telling myself that's making me feel so attacked and worried inside my being, as if I'm not capable of completing tasks? Because I'm capable. even long drawn out ones. Like, I have a biology degree. I can complete tasks. I have a podcast. I can complete tasks. Sometimes posting a picture on Instagram, you can complete tasks. So recently I had an event that I was hosting at my campus, and I was really like, okay, feeling kind of nervous, but like I also don't feel my body right now. Like, I don't feel like I'm in my body right now. So let me just give myself the space to feel all out of whack. I knew that whenever I do feel vulnerable, in a sense that I can't understand what's going on, I'm very readily to attack others and defend myself. Like, ready. And that's what I learned by watching myself, that I was like, okay, I know I feel a little scared inside. And it's like, what did they say to me? Was you trying to be smart? I was like, okay, wait. They didn't say that. They didn't say that. I feel like this camera's about to die, and I'm really upset about this because what? Nonetheless, I'm sorry. I get distracted easily. So I paid attention to what I was doing and what I was thinking whenever I knew I was going to do something that was going to make me anxious. That was a lot. And because of that, it made me want to learn even more. It made me want to know even more. So I'm like, okay, then what's this feeling? Like, why? What is this related to? And I would feel so many different things, and I would just journal the feeling. Like, one day, for a week, I felt like I was swimming through mud. I don't know what that means, but that's how I felt. And so I pay attention more and more now whenever I have different events, different projects, different whatever, how I feel. And I'm like, okay, so if I feel like I'm swimming through mud, that means I feel like really gucky or whatever. I need to drink more water to wash it off me. I need to move because my body feels stiff. So let me go do some yoga. Let me go work out. Let me go lift some weights, whatever it is that'll give me that feeling of movement and like fluid movement, and not like me having to push through something. I watched how much I was literally just scrolling on social media. Like, you're doing this because you're avoiding. But what you're avoiding, we may not know, but you're definitely avoiding, sis. And that type of vulnerability of self-watching non-judgmentally, heavy on non-judgmentally, like, that takes a deep sense of vulnerability with self, and it's not easy to do. And sometimes it's like, for me, it got sad because I was like, wow, this is who I became out of survival. Because I know we all do certain things, and it's like, why did I do that? Like, I knew I was feeling, and all this stuff was going through my body, but like, I ain't have to do all that. I'm glad that I've gotten to the point of being able to watch myself and not judge me for my feelings. If anything, I'd be frustrated with the teenage girl inside my body that I'm learning how to heal and nurture. I'd be ready to box her, like 14 to 18-year-old Lee, like, oh my God. But I know all that I was feeling at that time, and it was a lot of uncertainty, and whenever we feel uncertain or insecure, we're very quick to attack. I was very quick to attack. So, and even myself. And so now it's realizing that vulnerability in myself and taking the time to love me anyway. But I needed to be vulnerable here in order to even look in my past. I was telling my friend the other day, like, sometimes I'd be ready to box her, but on the inside of me, I'm giving her the biggest hug because the only thing I really wanted to feel was secure. I was severely insecure. Emotionally insecure. A little physical. But it was mostly this physical insecurity mostly this emotional insecurity that caused me to act out and treat people very badly. But I'm learning, and I'm giving myself the opportunity to mess up, get it wrong, because I'm new to vulnerability. I don't know how the ways in which it works all the time, and especially with me, because it's different with every other person of what vulnerability looks like. But I feel like there should be a common theme of just being open to making mistakes emotionally, getting it wrong, and putting yourself out there. Like, I remember going to office hours because I didn't really understand like a topic in class, and I'd be like, all right, so like, this is how much I got. And I know I only understood maybe the first 15 minutes of the lesson. But I just was like, like I hated admitted that like I didn't get it the way it was explained to me at that time. So like I was like, I need some help. And vulnerability is about admitting when you need help. And it's admitting being open to receiving lessons. It's not about you being attacked. It's not personal. It's not personal. It's about you receiving the optimal opportunity to learn more. And sometimes it doesn't always feel that great because we're human and we mess up. We mess up. And there is no getting it right all the time. It's impossible. Getting it right every time low-key removes the spontaneity of life. And I'm not saying like no or negativity is spontaneity, but it's like, it's something. Even if you didn't get what you may have wanted, like leave life up to the spontaneity of it all. Emotions are a spectrum. They move up and down and up and down. Like, the way you may have felt about something one day may have changed. But the way that you bring it to somebody is really important. Asking someone to have a vulnerable conversation so it's intentional from the jump could be an option. When I do it, I try to make sure that whenever I'm talking to somebody that I know that they're being vulnerable with me right now, I'm very intentional with the types of questions that I ask them. Because when I'm feeling open and vulnerable, the last thing I want to feel like is I'm being attacked or taken as a joke. So this is, I guess, now using vulnerability in conversation. Knowing that somebody may not be feeling as protected and they're so willing to be open that way with you, for one, is beautiful. Never take that for granted and never take advantage of that. For two, you have to reciprocate it. You have to give that flow of transfer of energy back and forth of that vulnerability. As soon as you start tightening up, they're going to sense that because you guys are sharing something. So it's like you were sharing it with yourself. So paying attention to what you're saying and doing with yourself. So now when you're sharing with others, you have to pay attention to how you're sharing and talking to them as well. Because both of you deserve respect and grace in that moment because you're being vulnerable. And if it's the first time you're doing it, especially in a new relationship, a new friendship, it's hard because you're also learning who and how that person is as well. And you might really be like, okay. Like you just tap out and be like, I'm understanding. I'm understanding. It's a lot, but I'm understanding. Give yourself like once y'all have like a very heavy conversation, I think it's imperative to also give it time to breathe. So it's like the conversation was the seed, and so now put some dirt over it and like just let it rock for a second, because it's going to feel like a lot. And for me, what I experience, and I think I talked a little bit before about this in the last episode, I don't know if this is like the medical term for it, but I've been experiencing post-event anxiety or panic attacks. And so it's like I'll do the thing. I've learned how to, talk my body through, our body's anxious because this is what it's been taught to do before things, because we always want it to be perfect and get things right. We don't have to be that way anymore. Let's just take a deep breath and I can complete tasks. I'm capable of doing this. And so I'll get my body through it. I'll get my body through it. And I'll be like, okay, cool, I did it. Got it. But then I finish, and then all of a sudden I'll be like, oh shit. Like, it started hitting me, and I'm like, okay, I'm having a panic attack now. Like, all right, like. And when I first would experience this, I got mad at myself. Like, how are you acting like this? We just did the thing that was so, high of priority and anxiety inside your body, and now we finished it, and you're over here still like what's up with you, bro? And then I was like, okay, wait. I sound so mean. How dare I talk to myself like that? How dare I? And so, learning that, and after a conversation that required a lot of vulnerability and a lot of courage and a lot of patience, I need some form of aftercare for myself. Almost within like a 2 to 5 minute, 2 to 10 minute, I give myself some slack, 2 to 10 minute time frame, or my panic attack is really going to like sweep me off my feet. And so after I do an event or I do something, I like to play with my hands, if that hasn't been clear. But that calms me down, like this motion, like just grabbing my fingers together and rubbing my thumbs. I'm like, okay, everything's okay. And then I'll start breathing. And then I want something sweet or something to chew on. So like I have gum. Or I go into my secretary's office and steal a Reese's, and she know that I just got off an event, and she just like, I know, come on. And I'm like, you know it. So it's something that I rely on. But I'm glad that it's something that I created within myself and it wasn't too external. But sadly enough, I think my camera's about to die. So instead of me losing all of this, I'm just gonna maybe call it quits or call it pause right here. But the only thing I want to say is go journal. It really, really helps. And pay attention to yourself and don't judge you, because you deserve patience, kindness, and love. So give it to yourself, please.